Chicago.
AM 560, The Answer.
Back on this show, all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. And as promised, I'm thrilled to be joined by the founder and owner of Ravenswood Studio, Michael Shapiro, who's joined by AJ Goehle. And you guys have been doing some very, very fascinating things in general, and certainly, like so many of our other guests on Get Down to Business, pivoting. Michael, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having us. Yeah, really fun. Thank you. So, let me just point out that, as you said, I'm the owner of and founder of Ravenswood Studio here in Lincolnwood, and AJ Goehle is my partner in Lucy Creative. So we actually have two companies here, Ravenswood Studio, Lucy Creative.
Absolutely. No, fascinating stuff. And I've been reading up so much on all of your work, some fascinating projects. And we're going to talk about some of the behind the scenes looks at some of the local attractions and things that you and AJ have been working on together. So exciting. Tell us a little bit about the history of Lucy Creative.
Sure. So maybe I'll just start really quickly with Ravenswood Studio. We started as a fabrication company. We currently have a 100,000 square foot facility here in Lincolnwood. And I don't know, AJ, was it 5 or 6 years ago that you came?
9 years ago.
No, 9 years ago. Oh, God. 9 years ago. And what we wanted to do was offer more robust design services to our museum and cultural and corporate clients. And so together we worked hard over the last 9 years and have put together a great team. And I think Lucy has about 30 employees currently. Ravenswood has about 70. And it's going great. I don't know, AJ, jump in here.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you can tell me a little bit about how Lucy Creative came out of Ravenswood Studio and tell us a little bit more of that story.
Sure. So I came knocking on Michael's door and bugging him for a while, begging him to hire me because I really wanted to work with him in Ravenswood Studio. And together we saw an opportunity to get into projects much earlier in the process. So by really coming to our clients to help them with developing their stories and for the specific visitors they wanted to attract, we're able to develop and evolve a company that focused on that while utilizing the resources of Ravenswood to help us figure out how to engineer and budget the projects as we were creating them. We like to say that we go to clients and we're not dream crushers anymore because we can actually show them what can be built and how it can be built.
Incredible. So I want to talk, and I just promised our listeners some behind the scenes looks, which is indeed challenging when you're talking on radio, but we're going to do our best over here. Your team, very talented team, I might add, at Ravenswood Studio and Lucy Creative, have created together some of the most fascinating exhibits at many places that us Chicagoans have perhaps now just been enjoying by Zoom, but surely we'll be getting back to in-person visits of. Can you guys tell us a little bit about some of your success stories?
I don't know, AJ, do you want to talk about Numbers in Nature? That's a pretty big one at the Museum of Science and Industry.
Sure. Yeah. So the Museum of Science and Industry came to us and they asked us to help them make math fun for visitors and not scary. And so one of the challenges was, how do you do that? And then how do you make that interactive and immersive while bringing in a 2,500 square foot mirror maze in the middle? So we worked collectively with the museum, great partners at Leviathan Interactive and Media Company, as well as Lucy and Ravenswood together to develop that experience, not only in a permanent fashion, but there's also now a traveling version that's going around the country to your science centers around the U.S.
Right.
And we're now living in a whole new era, which I just implied a moment ago of we are slowly getting back to normal, whatever the new normal looks like. And you are working with your clients, I understand, in the plans for reopening, which includes obviously that wayfinding signage. What do some of those public spaces, what will that look like as we potentially move into phase 4 over the coming weeks? And people want to feel safe, but they also want to enjoy all that Chicago and the world has to offer.
Yeah, and Michael, I can jump in here for this one. One of the things that we're working very closely with museums around the country to help them focus on is how to take what they have existing in their museums today and redesign or relay them out and able to absorb and manage the new types of visitors that are going to be coming through. So that might include refocusing the traffic flow and the way that visitors walk through an exhibit. Now they're going to become more linear versus exploratory. Looking at taking away interactives that may be hard to clean and operate, as well as rethinking how the docents that you might see in an exhibit today might facilitate conversations with visitors, in that capacity.
Really, really interesting. And Michael, if I could go to you on this one, I'm curious also how your very creative team, indeed your company is called Lucy Creative, how COVID has affected the way your team has been collaborating together. You just talked about how you're working with your customers, but what about internally? Always fascinated at that behind the scenes look.
Well, yeah, Lucy Creative, of course, is the design firm. And so all those people were able to go work from home immediately. It was actually sort of astonishing that the infrastructure, with Zoom and these online platforms was so robust and in place already that we actually had no trouble making that transition to working from home. These are graphic designers, 2D designers, or 3D designers, content developers, et cetera. It's challenging in that it's certainly more interesting to be in a room full of people to be able to collaborate on things, but doing it virtually works surprisingly well.
That's incredible. So, AJ, back over to you as you look at the future, and you start to think about some of the things that your clients are talking to you about now. Where do you see sort of your work over the next 5 years?
It's funny you asked that. We've been working on that and talking to clients a lot about that too. I think what we're seeing and hearing from visitors as our museum clients have been reaching out to their communities to ask them what would make them come back and what would make them feel comfortable. We're certainly seeing the desire to bring people back into the spaces. There's a very different type of experience, educational and experience-wise, that you can get on the internet over Zoom or a virtual visit to a museum that you are missing, that you can get in an actual institution within the four walls and sharing in that experience. So I think we're definitely going to see the trend to continue to build those institutions and invest in them. But we're just going to be taking a little bit different approach in the technologies and tactics that we take with materials and how people go through space.
Really, really interesting. And you've talked about some of the examples, but I want to dive a little bit deeper into some of the projects in Chicago that some of our listeners might recognize. Can you share a couple of your more interesting engagements, which I'm sure have also been very exciting for you to work on?
Yeah, we should also talk about maybe Cantini, AJ. That would be a good one.
Yeah, if anyone is listening has been out to Cantini Park in Wheaton, we developed, designed, and built the new re-envisioned First Division Museum. And that's a military museum that's owned and operated by the McCormick Foundation. And I think everyone in Chicago knows who they are. So that's a great institution, very immersive and experiential exhibits. We're working recently with the Illinois Holocaust Museum and Education Center in Skokie on updating their core gallery. And so that's been a great engagement. Ravenswood has also built the Take a Stand exhibit, the hologram Holocaust survivor experience that's on the lower level. Many visitors have been there. And then, Northbrook Court, hopefully some of our North Shore listeners have been there recently. The play space at Northbrook Court Mall that's right next door to Janie and Jack, Ravenswood and Lucy designed and built as well.
Can we talk about ComEd? Is that okay to talk about, AJ?
Sure. Opening soon. In this fall, we have partnered in a creative and a construction standpoint with the ComEd Community Center that will be on the north side of Chicago here at their new building. I can't think of the address right now, but hopefully we can send you a link, Shalom, and you can put that up on the website for people to check out.
I would love to. To. Really amazing project, and I encourage all of our listeners, get out there and visit, support obviously the local community functions and really creative exhibits that designed by the incredible team at Lucy Creative, put in place by Ravenswood. Really, really interesting stuff. So we're running out of time. I want to make sure our listeners know where they can find out all about your Lincolnwood-based team. Can you share some contact information?
Sure. Go check out our websites at lucicreative.com or ravenswoodstudio.com. We can both link up there to each other's companies. So check out our work and say hello.
Absolutely. Well, Michael Shapiro, AJ Goehle, thank you so much for joining us on the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. Come back real soon.
We will. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And coming up after the break, we'll be joined by yet another small business owner with another fascinating story. You're listening to Get Down to Business. Check out my website, shalomklein.com. You can download the past 6+ years of shows. We'll be back after these quick headlines and Get Down to Business.
If anybody doubted how